You are listening to
Marty and the Breaux.
when you're poor, it's like the meaning of money is less because so if I lose this money, I'm just going to be poor again. Well, I've always been poor.
Exactly.
So what's the difference?
Exactly.
I know how to manage poor. I'm alive, and but just thought that's something that I had never considered, because when somebody who's poor wins the lottery, next thing you know, they're poor again, and it kind of becomes that when I'm saying that they don't have the experience with money and valuing money and over time and managing it and just knowing, developing a healthy relationship with money. So they get a little bit of money, and next thing you know, it it's gone. It's gone.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. And there's like, I guess taking it a couple steps or a couple places. First of all, it is a lot of ignorance, right? Like on my end, like for example, I am not the greatest with money because I'm not the greatest with investing. We ain't never had none. It's like it's like giving somebody a car and like take care of this car. I'm like, oh, okay, what does that what does that mean? Like, well, you got to
Yeah,
do oil changes and tire rotations. If you've never been told or heard anything about these things, what are you just gonna discover it out of the clear blue sky? Oh, you got to rotate the tires, and you got to. There's a star pattern to do this thing, and it's you get what I mean. There's a lot more. There's a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
to it. You know what I mean? And that's just car maintenance, right? When it comes to
yeah,
financial stuff, there's actual mechanisms in place to not to the system's designed to separate me from my money. That's what you know what I mean. Like we're I've told you before. Black people are the ultimate capitalists, right? I think capitalism. I think like how do I put it? Like I'm a firm believer. I had kind of had an epiphany that like oh snap, capitalism. Like we are the number one capitalists as far as Black people when it comes to being consumers. Not on the producer side, but the consumer, right? Saying we are capitalism's golden child in my opinion. We bought a hook, line, and sinker because they took our culture and cut it off at one point, right? Through taking it, bring us here to America. All we know is capitalism. That's why when you see us in the hood, we're doing the money phones to our ear. Like we glorify money, but also in being poor, it's about consistency, right? So it's kind of like the whole thing with I don't know if you heard about those studies when people that are they track people who people's happiness level, people who are poor, who people's happiness levels through getting money and losing money through lottery and everything. So like there
yeah,
are people or even being legs being amputated. But they found that people that were there was like a baseline happiness, right? Like somebody
yeah,
would be this happy, they'd lose their leg, they might get lower, but then later on it'd come back to this baseline. And the same opposite for people winning the lottery, they were this happy, they won the lottery, the happiness came up to here, then even if they still have the money later on, their happiness still comes back down to here, right? So I
right.
think and that's I think it has more to do with consistency and stability than anything, right? The idea is just consistency. I've consistently ain't had shit, so I'm used to not having shit, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when I like when I do come into contact with stuff, I'm like, okay, I need to gather there are of course the important stuff, like like for example with me, I had I tried to immediately get stuff with the card knocked out, and there was thousands of dollars. Like right now there's just debt sitting that's just like at any point this there's every dollar that comes in is not mine pretty much at this point. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
for the next
yeah,
couple of years, you know what I mean? Being honest about it, right? So
yeah,
there are those parts to it, and then on top of that, when I do get the other money, I don't saving. You got to learn to be, that's a consistent behavior, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't save by doing it once, right? You know what I'm saying? That's something that you have to do consistently to have a savings, right? If you've never been able
yeah.
to, if that's not something that's that happens, that if you've never experienced that type of stability, then it's almost impossible to do it. Kind of like
And
with
it's almost
changing a tire or
also
something.
right, almost also because you have a lineage of wealth and money, uh the I know that the average black family in America has a net worth of like $17,000, and the average white family has an average net worth of $170,000 or something very close to that. That was a study from the Brookings Institute from a few years ago, and that's a 10x difference. So if you don't have that family history of saving and building wealth, you're not going to the dinner table talking about the importance of saving, because everybody in your in your past lineage has been in the struggle too.
Exactly. Exactly.
so
Exactly. Yeah.
so
And
you
on
just
top of
don't
that,
get that information.
exactly. And on top of that, when you think about it, like a lot of times, an issue that, how do I put it like this? The system wasn't designed to keep me, keep money in my hand. Like, like I said, you got to remember, like capitalism, like we were like when you really like, let's back up and kind of have a bird's eye view of like, when this, systems, these systems were put in place and created, right? They were genuinely created with in mind, actually people in mind with, okay, those people, these people that look like this, they cannot, rise up. You know what I mean? So these systems were actually designed with that in mind, right? So now we're at, now we're in 2021, still dealing with systems that were designed with in mind to separate me from wealth and not let me get that, right? You know what I mean? So it shouldn't be surprising to anybody that, at this point, it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously, black people aren't going to happen. We weren't designed like this was never meant for us, and proof's in the pudding, kind of, right? You know what I'm saying? We ain't no,
Yeah.
we have no representation anywhere, whether it be in the, like, I think this year, like, everybody's like, oh, did you hear? There was we had the first black senator in the South was elected in 2021. I'm like, and we're excited about this. Like, you know what I mean? The first black senator from the South in 2021, bro, they were literally, we thought the Jetsons was taking place in like 2010s, right? You know what I'm saying? They thought, we were only flying in cars at this point. We still aren't, you know what I mean? And so when you look at, like I said, when you take a bigger look out and look at it from that viewpoint, it's like, oh, okay.
It's devastating. Right. It's
exactly.
Devastating.
We're not the main reason, in my opinion, like, black people, the wealth was not designed for us to accumulate wealth, right? Like all of these, there's a lot of systems in place. They're just, that's not how this is supposed to go. And it's not how it goes, like, by design, I say, not even on no,
well, even if it's not a
theory.
conscious design at this point, it's a institutional foregone conclusion.
Exactly. Well, I do want to push back and say it, like, it obviously was conscious design. You know what I mean? Like for it to.
At some point in time, but I guess I was speaking to people who, for them, racism sits more in their subconscious, and then they're conscious. So I'm not imagining a group of white men in a smoke-filled room talking about these things. It's just there.
Well, it's kind of what y'all do. I don't know. That's kind of how that works, man. I don't know. But yeah, no, man. It's set up in the system, and nowadays, probably, for the most part, that's not a thing, right? But I think, there was a point in time where there literally was smoke backfilled rooms with white people saying, okay, how we get these niggas, I'm saying, like, that literally was the goal, and that's what they did, like I was telling you, we were just discussing, I got to look, I can't remember, I wish I remember the exact dates, but there was a civil rights movement before the one in the 60s, right? Saying for the, I can't remember exactly when that was, but the reason why we had to do a whole nother civil rights movement is because the first time, black people, we had, during Reconstruction, all that, the first time we actually did damn well for ourselves with, like, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. Black people were doing very well, accumulating wealth, saving money, and a lot more pockets than you think. We were in running, and we were in elected office in a lot of places. We were doing better than a lot of white people in a lot of areas, a lot of different areas, and we're finding our own enclaves, moving out, and not siphoning off white people. So we're building our own over there, doing our own thing. White people, y'all were like, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that. They got, we coming to fuck all that up. You know what I mean? And then after that, they were like, okay, let's make sure that they can't do that again. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by it was 100% by design. And at no point has anybody went back and been like, okay, let's actually try to reverse these things. Like, like that actually, the civil rights movement was more so about, like, voting rights. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, y'all can vote, I guess, but you know what I mean? Like, and I guess y'all can sit at the same table, but, we're still redlining you niggas. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, we locking up everybody. And that's, I could go on all day, but, like, I think that's something, I think one of the bigger issues that, especially when it comes to the money issue with the black community is the fact that, they locking this, the criminal record, that part right there is such a much bigger puzzle piece to the problem than people realize, because that is literally like, that is the X, because My dad had a saying. I don't know where he got this from, so he may have stole this from somebody. So, but this is what he used to say. And it's something that resonated when I was a kid. He was like, so what he said was, when Martin Luther King said, judge us by the content of our character, not color of our skin. White people are like, all right, bet, we got you. We got something for you. I mean, when they said that, we were like, we're gonna make the content of your character this record right here, this criminal record. That's the content of your character. We're gonna judge you by from now on, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what they did. And now, you know what I'm saying, that's what they do with me, like I'm on paper on the content of my character, right? You know what I'm saying? It looks terrible, bro. And I don't get hired for nothing, you know what I mean? And that's how they were able, I feel like that was, another. Yo, you like what you just saw? Make sure you like, share, subscribe so the algorithms can algorithm or whatever sorcery they do. Follow us on our socials, links all down in the description, and let's keep rocking.